Welcome to Healing in Progress.
On this episode of the Healing in Progress podcast, we are going to be having such a layered and enriching conversation. I invited someone that I'm so fascinated by to be here with us today to have a conversation about healing through church hurt. And while that's the main focus of this episode, and while that's kind of where I am in my journey along healing, Rev D has been through so many lifetimes here in this experience with us. And so we're going to get into the healing through the church hurt, but we're also going to learn so much more in this episode. There is a bio here with Rev D, Reverend Deborah Johnson, that is so expansive that I don't feel like I would even do it justice to share. So I'm going to pass it over to Rev D to introduce yourself to us.
Well, first off, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And in terms of my own self and my background, I'm a native from Los Angeles. Spent half my life there and pretty much the other half in the Santa Cruz area. I was born and raised in the Pentecostal Church.
Okay.
I was raised in the Church of God in Christ. I later went on to become a more universal minister, metaphysical minister. I started my own church in the late 1990s, but had been a spiritual counselor for about 10 years or so, before that. A very extensive background in DEI work, and have worked with numerous religious organizations along the way, as well as Fortune 500 companies. I'm passionate social justice, activist. And I have a corporate background. I actually have an MBA in real estate finance from UCLA. And I pull it all together to just give a message of empowerment. Oh, and I'm a very open and out lesbian. That not to have that in the mix. In fact, actually have a court case that set the precedent for the inclusion of sexual orientation as a civil rights issue.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I thought you were about to say, and you are a best-selling author.
Well, I do have a couple of books on there as well, yes.
Yeah, one being The Sacred Yes.
The Sacred Yes is volume 1. Your Deepest Intent is volume 2 of the Letters from the Infinite series. There are these prophetic downloads that I get. And I'm sure we'll talk about that more when we get into the discussion.
Yes. What came first?
In terms of
your journey,
mm-hmm.
So you started off Pentecostal.
Yes.
But then you followed up that journey with, did you start your church first? Did you go to school first? How did you get to where you are today?
So, although I was raised Pentecostal, and for those who don't know, let me just explain what that means. Okay. I call it the jumbo pack because it's layered.
Okay.
So at the base of that is fundamentalism, where people believe in a very literal word, like this is what it says. There is no other interpretation, like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's evangelical on top of that. The evangelicals proselytize. They're go tell it on the mountain. They're trying to convert you in. Not all fundamentalists are evangelical, but all evangelicals are fundamentalists.
Got you. Follow.
Yes. Okay. Then there's charismatic on top of that. The charismatic is the very lively and, brings in a lot of, instruments. There's charismatic Catholics even.
Okay. This is new to me.
Oh yeah. So the charismatic brings in sort of the lively fervor. Now the Pentecostal aspect adds another layer on top of that, where the Pentecostals believe in gifts of the Spirit. So the Pentecostals believe in things like hands-on healing and speaking in tongues and prophetic prophecy. These kinds of more mystical things, but they are evangelical and all of the rest of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in that, and I happened to grow up in sort of the mother lode, like one of the mega churches in the Los Angeles area with Bishop Samuel Crouch, um, who was atypical. He actually was a very quiet, soft-spoken man. He didn't like all that hooping and hollering and running around, but he traveled a lot. We had an extra facility where we held all the convocations that came in the conferences. So I saw like the biggest and the best evangelicals from all over the world come through. So I saw a lot of stuff that I could not deny in terms of the healings, and I always had a sense of a personal connection. It was the doctrine that didn't resonate with me. The idea of the exclusivity and that they were people that God was gonna like hate or, punish for all eternity. And growing up gay, that so to date myself, because to have to put my life in that context, I'm a boomer. So I'm born in the mid-50s, and I'm raised in this when all of the social justice movements are happening and the feminist movement. And the gay movement hadn't quite hit yet. Right. While I'm in this stuff in the Pentecostal Church. So it was rough. That was rough, because it wasn't just the church, it was all of the other institutions as well. So I'm a criminal by law. I'm sick, according to the psychiatrist, satanic, according to God. That's a lot. It is. At 10, 8. Oh my goodness. 10, that's like a whole lot to wade through. But there was always something within me that was like, these are just interpretations. These are just people's beliefs and values. And I saw a pattern, whether it was about being Black, being a woman, being gay. It's like, wait, why am I always in the back of the bus? Why is there always somebody that's better than me, or God loves them more? It shouldn't be me. So I just began to question, like, all of it. Yeah. All of it. And I found that I had to find something that worked and made sense for me. Because I did get a call to the ministry at 15. Wow, 15. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it was like, I can't do this. I ain't going to do this. My mother was very happy, because she thought, okay, that means that God's going to turn me straight. So she knew you were out at that time. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Actually, I had the same girlfriend from a freshman in college, a freshman in high school, to my senior year in college. Oh, wow. We're still very close today. She gets mad when I say this. I say she traded up. She married an orthopedic surgeon later on, but we're still like really, really close. I've always known that I was gay. My parents did too, and that was quite the challenge, because my mother thought that the devil had me, and I was bringing the devil into the house. Oh my goodness! When she was president of the Women's Christian Council. For like 45 years. The devil was trying to use you to get to her. Well, the devil had me as far as she was concerned. And that meant that she would go to hell. Oh my goodness. Because it was her job to save me. Now, I had decided by 16 that if there was a hell, I was just going to have to go. Because I wasn't going to do hell twice. Yeah. Like if I tried to be anything other than what I was, that was hell here. Yeah. So it's like, well, if I'm going to go to hell someplace else, I might as well be me here. I'm not doing hell twice. I ain't doing hell twice. Yeah. I'm not doing it twice. Yeah. So, yeah, it just to say it was rough. It was, however, I do want to give her credit. She never really came around theologically, per se. But later on, like as the years went by, that very Christianity that had her condemn me was the very Christianity that allowed her to embrace me and my ministry, like, and my partner, kind of like with slavery. The same Christianity got us into slavery is the same Christianity that helped get us out, of slavery, because she really, really believed in Jesus's love ethic and understood that God sometimes chose the most unlikely people. And she saw my ministry, and the person I built the ministry with, and she couldn't deny it. Whenever she talked about my church, she go, "Ooh, you should see the love."
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
She got down to the root of what it is, which is about love.
Yes.
In its most fundamental form, love is supposed to be the root of all of these practices.
Exactly. You will know they are my disciples by their love.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, took a few decades.
But that has to be really healing for you. Is she still with us today?
No, she passed away about 3 years ago.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
That has to have been a really healing part of your journey to see her come around that way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I knew we had arrived. I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta.
Okay.
And my ex-wife that I built the church with was also Delta.
Okay.
My mother's Delta. And
Okay.
we both had kind of ceded Delta to my mom because he felt like we don't have to have that like all up in her face. But when she invited us to go to Delta National with her, actually here in Las Vegas, I don't know, like maybe 15, 16 years ago, like, or something like that, like as her guest.
You knew then.
I knew, okay,
Mm-hmm.
We've crossed a new threshold.
Yeah.
That we're all going to be here together in that sisterhood, open and proud.
Did she ever tell you what changed her thoughts and feelings around everything?
She didn't verbalize it, per se, but I watched the progression. And I would say it was a number of things. A part of it was the changing social landscape,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm proud to say I had a lot to do with. The fact that I think it felt less of a reflection on her.
Okay.
That this could be sort of like who I was. And I wound up being a pastor. I mean, it's like, of all things, I wound up being a pastor married to somebody who was a preacher's kid, third generation. And she could see that I was living all of the principles that she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she began to really understand the abuse.
Mm-hmm.
I think she really began to get that. I can't say for absolute certain, but I know with a lot of people, and I think my mother as well, that the AIDS epidemic really helped her to see the light, the way that people were being treated
Mm-hmm.
and condemned. I remember speaking at a conference, an AIDS conference, and talking about the demand. I always try to end problems on the demand side, not just the supply side.
Okay.
And I was explaining how the church and a lot of its doctrines actually increased the demand for the high-risk behavior, the
Yes.
demand for the drug addiction, the demands for all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had a co-judge bishop come up to me afterwards and say that I gave him, and he was from conservative San Bernardino, that I gave him something to think about.
Good.
Yeah, I really think that that helped somewhere in there to shift it. And the bottom line for all of it, for anybody who's listening, is just keep loving.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your heart open, because we never ever rejected each other
Mm-hmm.
because of it. And if you just keep loving, you get to the other side.
You'll get to the other side, and your time here will be a lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing. So we started out in the church. I think we left off the timeline around age 15, 16.
Okay.
You
Yes.
got the call to the ministry.
Yes.
And then following that.
So following that, as I started in college, I began to study world religions. I began to study Greek mythology, Roman mythology. I began to see the commonalities
Mm-hmm.
and the similarities in how truth kind of codifying for me what I always knew. The truth can't be patented.
Right.
And it's, transcendent of history and culture and time. And being in Los Angeles is a very culturally diverse,
Mm-hmm.
Place. And I've always been fascinated, with that. So I went on my own little journey. I started to go to different kinds of churches. And then I found myself in a more like metaphysical group. At the time, they were the unity churches, the religious science of mind churches. They're now go by Centers for Spiritual Living.
Okay.
And I started going to some of those and listening to some of them on the radio, on the television. And then I noticed some of my friends started going as well. And it really landed for me finally, like late 20s or something like that. A church in Los Angeles, Dr. Daniel Morgan. And it had the Baptist flavor with the more modern message of the inclusivity. And it was there that I really began to find my roots and started studying and taking the classes. I did a 4-year training and became essentially a lay minister.
Okay, what's that?
A lay minister is your minister, but you're not ordained.
All right.
The lay ministers are the ones who kind of like in a traditional church, like a deacon.
A deacon.
Got you.
Put it in Baptist terms for me. Got you.
Would be like a lay minister.
Mm-hmm.
I did go on to ministerial school, dropped out for a long time, went back, finally finished ministerial school in 96 and started my own church in 97. What was very influential for me was right after I graduated from ministerial school in 86, I was studying under a guy, Michael Bernard Beckwith out of Los Angeles. And we started a church called Agape International, which is
unconditional love.
Yeah, really gotten to be, a really, really big church, like internationally. And I modeled my church after how we developed, that particular church as multicultural, multi-ethnic, very open, very, affirming and deeply, deeply rooted in spiritual principle first, so that all of your activism and everything else comes from a sense of oneness. Even though I'm a diversity trainer, it's diversity within the context of the oneness.
Yeah.
Like the one thing expresses in variety, but it's still all coming from one source.
Mm-hmm. How did you find most of your congregants found you? What were they on a search for?
That's an interesting question. I would say that the vast majority of them were looking for something real.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want fluff. They didn't want something rote. They didn't want anything that insulted their intellect or made them have to bow down and
Submission.
Submission or like worship something. So we literally are a combination of everybody. I got atheists up in the church. They're Buddhists. They come from all different kinds of traditions. We're not membership. We decided to go a different route and treat it more like a movement. And anybody can come and participate. So many of the people who are with us celebrate with other groups as well, with Catholics or Jews or whatever. And yet there's this commonality here, and I tell them sometimes, I'll tell them, I say, look, I say, everybody up in here, okay? We got carnivores, and we got vegan, we got 12 steppers, we got club hoppers, we've got 8 anarchists, we've got, Bernie, Bernie said, we've got everything in here. We got every gender. I said, we making some up as we go along. And we're going to work it out.
Yeah.
Because this is what life is like. And I think that's another reason why they come. Because they push themselves to get to know people that they wouldn't have ever had any exposure to or contact with. And it's an extraordinary thing to see, former 34 years of the CIA with the white hippie with the dreads,
all background.
Yeah, just coming together. And the irony of it is that I personally really believe in Jesus' message. And I personally believe that my church reflects more of Jesus and his mission and how he taught than a lot of the other things out there that are labeling themselves as Christian, as blasphemous as that may sound.
Not to me. Oh, I get it. I would rather be Christ-like than look Christian.
Yeah.
And I think that that's been part of my own journey as well, is understanding that I don't want to perform Christianity.
Exactly.
Just to have a label of being Christian. I feel more closely connected to the teachings of Jesus than I do to the title of this religion.
Well, Jesus wasn't Christian, so
right.
Right.
To be Christ-like is always my goal, which to me means to love everyone that I meet, regardless of their background and where they're from.
Oh, it's quite true. So I have this dilemma sometimes when people ask me, like, are you Christian? Because the word has come to mean so many different things now. And most of the time, instead of just asking them that or answering that, I ask them essentially, what is it that you want to know?
You get to the point.
Yeah, exactly. It's like get to the point, because a lot of the people that are calling themselves Christian out there, it's like, what Bible do you read? You don't know my Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know what Jesus you're talking about.
Yeah.
But my Jesus? In fact, I was at one of the recent rallies, the resist rallies.
Oh, you went to them?
Oh yeah, I've been going to them. Oh, for sure. This one was in Santa Cruz, and WWJD has come to mean, what would Jesus do? and somebody had a sign that said WWJD, who would Jesus deport?
Wow.
And I thought that was a brilliant play on it. Who would Jesus deport?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the times that we're in right now. It's kind of sad to see that how much this religious belief system is used to justify all of these decisions that are being made. And there was once a time that there was supposed to be a separation of church and state.
But a constitution.
And a constitution.
Imagine that. Rule of law.
Yeah. It seems like all that's kind of just gone out the window a little bit, and all we have are ourselves. I really wish more of us would come together and recognize that this isn't really a race issue. This isn't a beliefs issue. A lot of this is a class issue. And if we came together putting those differences aside, we would actually be able to do something about what's happening now. But not to get political, not to get too political, even though all of this is political. You feel that there is a difference between spirituality and religion.
Oh, no question about that.
What do you define as the difference?
Spirituality is our innate state. Okay, it is that connection that we have to the divine, to the whole, the whole universe.
Mm-hmm.
Religion, on the other hand, is an institution. And it's an institution that's born out of a particular culture, born out of a particular time. And it reflects, all of the values and the sentiments and whatnot of those institutions. The institution, your spirituality is innate, but religion's man-made.
Mm-hmm.
And I do literally mean like man-made. The vast majority, particularly what we call the major religions of the world today, are definitely like man-made. And they have all of the consciousness of whatever it is, for good, for bad, for ugly. And we have to be careful not to make the two the same, because there's something that's transcendent of that, considering the discussion that we just had, that part of the difficulty that we're having now is that there's democracy, which for sake of this, I would make it akin to the spirituality, because democracy is really about relationship. Mm-hmm. And it's about this idea of us having a divine right to be in community together and to self-govern, ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then you have a republic, which is a representative form of a democracy. And our republic as an institution is kind of like the church. And it leaves much to be desired right now. And we're losing the sense of the democracy.
Right.
Getting caught up in all of this other stuff, just like the issues and the matters of the church are making us lose our spirituality. We have people who are disengaged now politically. Like the young people, they're like, what is all this?
Completely disengaged.
What does this have like anything to do with me? Because they're not being taught what democracy is. What is that innate thing, the relationship that we have together? Same thing is happening on the religious front, where the young people are like, what is all this religious stuff, have to do with me? I don't want to play these games and whatnot. But then they're not always paying attention to their spirituality. Mm-hmm. It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, you're losing everything.
Over and over and over again. We're doing that with education, just about everything. So it's important, I think, that we get back to the essence, to the roots that is transcendent. And the irony is that the word church comes from the Greek word ecclesia, which just means the people.
Wow.
If you just Google it, look it up, that's all it means. It's just the spiritual community. It's just the people. That's what the church is supposed to be. Now, I don't want to take up, all your time.
No, this is an excellent part of the conversation.
Can I tell a little Bible story then?
Yes.
Okay. So in scripture, there is this peak moment when, right before Jesus is crucified, where he's talking to his disciples and he's asking them, who do you think I am? And they're giving him all these different answers. Some people think you're Elijah that's returned and all the rest of that. And Simon says to him, I think that you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And that word son is the Greek word huios, which means likeness and character. It's not a lineage thing. It can also be plural.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It can also be plural.
Wow.
As in the Beatitudes, when it says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. It's the same word huios that's used for Jesus as the Son of God. It's just likeness and character. Look it up.
I will.
So Simon says to him, I think you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. So here's the thing. This is when Simon's name gets changed to Peter. But you've got to have an appreciation for what's going on here. This is the original simple Simon. This Simon is so slow that his nickname is Stone. Okay? He's Andrew's brother. When Jesus first meets him, he says, I know who you are. They call you Kepha. They call you Stone. But when he comes up with that answer, this is who I think you are, Jesus puts a spin on it. He says, they call you a stone, but you're really a rock. Peter, Petro, from the Greek from the Greek petro, rock, petroleum. Says, they call you a stone, but you're really a rock. And upon this rock, upon this simple Simon consciousness, he says that you didn't learn this from books. Nothing else could have taught you this. And it is upon this rock, this simple Simon awareness, consciousness of being able to discern spirit in the flesh. It is upon this that I will build my church, my ecclesia, my spiritual community, my people. And it's like we've turned all of that
it's gone
into ecclesiastical, some big institute.
It's supposed to be that.
That's simple.
Yeah.
That simple. We're the church. We are the democracy. It's us. And when we abdicated to some authority, when we abdicated to representatives who have to be intermediaries for us, in between us and whatever, we lose it.
Yeah. We give the power away. There are a lot of folks who are struggling with reconciling their traditional upbringing in the faith and also this exploration of their spiritual life. What do you have, like what words do you have to offer them peace in that? Because oftentimes it feels like an internal struggle of, is this in obedience to God? Am I violating a covenant that I have made? I just want to know more about myself. I just want to get to know my ancestors. Is that demonic?
Mhm.
Is it witchcraft? I mean, this whole labeling of witchcraft over everything is something that I feel like I've seen a lot in the past few years, especially being in the spiritual wellness space and offering tools and supplies to people that help them grow their spiritual practice. It's always just casted under witchcraft. And to the people that are interested in learning more about using these tools and knowing more about themselves, it feels like a struggle with them
Of course.
in their identity.
Well, that's by design.
Right.
I'd say we got to decolonize our minds. We got to decolonize our mind. When you really think about it, how long has humanity been here in comparison to the length of time of these churches?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what has been their ultimate goal? Their ultimate goal so often has been subservience and servitude, where the church has been a political arm of the state, where the missionaries were sent out first, like all over the Roman Empire, to conquer the indigenous people, to convince you, to take away your power. Okay, that your way of worshiping is wrong, but here's the kisser. And I didn't even learn this myself till about 2 years ago. That most in the Americas, where the Roman Catholic Church put their churches, their cathedrals, they put them right on top of the holy sites. They built them right on top of the indigenous holy sites. And it was like, oh yeah. How subversive is that?
Yeah. Wipe away the history.
Wipe away the history, but you also have the energetic pull.
Yeah.
You have the ancestral memory. It's like bringing you there and bringing you into that. Each and every one of us is powerful. Each and every one of us has the ability to heal. We have the ability to be telepathic. What do you think people did before cell phones? How do they
I can't even fathom it, Reverend.
How do they communicate? My father was a pharmacist for 58 years. But what in the world did we do before we had, manufactured drugs? Every environment has its own healing medicines. Every culture has had the medicine people. Community is medicine. Food is medicine. Anything we need to heal ourselves is like right here in the ground.
We have it all.
Yeah. So here's what I always ask. Whenever, from a DEI standpoint, whenever people are talking about they're struggling with this or that, I always ask the question, who benefits the most? If you believe this or you believe that, who benefits the most? If you believe that your ancestral roots are evil and should be abolished and abandoned and cannot be reconciled with the dominant paradigm, who's going to benefit the most? Who's going to benefit from that? And I find even today, with everything that's going on, from immigration to breaking the rule of, who benefits the most?
That's an important question.
Yeah.
For everything.
Exactly. And when even a commercial.
Yeah.
I'm really serious.
No, I get it. From a marketing lens?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or social media.
Yeah.
And you're seeing posts that are coming out in different ideas and perspectives. Like, who's going to benefit the most from that spin? Who? the important part of what I'm saying now is that what we call sometimes this conflict of not being able to reconcile is internalized depression.
Mm-hmm.
Internalized depression is when we have so bought the okie doke
Yeah.
that we are doing it to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's the way you really conquer people.
Mm-hmm.
The way you conquer them is that you have them believe it so much that not only will they take themselves out of the race for the goods, but you put them in charge of keeping each other in place.
Yeah. And we do it so well. And we do it so well, not just with religion.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That's why I keep calling it like from the DEI perspective, because it doesn't matter whether it's about religion, whether it's about sexuality, whether it's about politics or race, or it's the same power dynamic. It's the same power dynamic that just keeps happening over and over and over.
Yeah.
And the answer is the same all the time. Know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to the beginning, to the most fundamentalist. Take the shackles off our mind, take the shackles off our feet, because it's against nature. It's just against nature. Our minds are free.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing about us was ever made to fit in a box. You know, you can do jazz and you can do classical.
Yep.
There's nothing in the universe that says you can only do it this way. I don't care whether it's cooking or language. There is nothing that is exclusive. There's nothing that says that it just has to be this way. And the irony, see, don't let me get on a roll here.
Please do.
But the irony, going back to like the fundamentalist Christian thing that I was raised in,
Mm-hmm.
is that so much of we call Christian is this amalgamation of this intersection of cultures and traditions. Easter is not in the Bible.
Right. These are pagan holidays.
Easter is the pagan goddess Esther. She is a fertility goddess. Even the symbols that we use for Easter.
The bunny.
And bunnies don't lay eggs.
Bunnies don't lay eggs.
You know, the eggs is this ancient Egyptian
Yeah.
thing about like birth and rebirth.
Fertility, yeah.
And I used to wonder, like, why didn't Easter have a date?
Yeah.
Like why does Easter keep changing? Well, because Easter is the first Sunday after the first full moon
Mm-hmm.
of the spring equinox.
When you really break it down and unpack
That's how we figure out Easter.
Right. And you see all the astrological influences and
Thank
all
you.
of this. How could you think that any parts of this would be demonic? Truly the expansion of the mind is what will help you in that internal conflict and battle. Just ask the questions. Where did this come from? How did we determine this? Oh, we bring astrology into that? Oh, okay.
I used to wonder that. I can remember even asking my mother. I said, well, weren't the wise men following the stars?
The stars. Indeed.
And weren't they from the east? Like,
and bringing all the incense and the resins and
they figured it out before everybody else.
Yeah.
This is why I say to people, who benefits?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who benefits from that narrative? Because when you when you pull it all apart, everything is this beautiful blend.
Mm-hmm.
It's this beautiful amalgamation of taste and textures and sounds and beats and rhythms and cultures and traditions. Why do you have to be the only one? Why is that so important that you be superior or that you be supreme? What is that?
Ask yourself who benefits there too.
And who benefits?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why isolationism doesn't work. Because it's everything is better because we have so much influence from everyone else.
If it defies nature, there's no truth in it.
Yeah.
There's no truth in it. And I know people used to tell me growing up that, homosexuality defied nature.
What's your response to that?
It's like, no, it doesn't. Because then you're just ignorant about sexuality. Because practically every species, even your dogs, you can watch your dogs. They like hump anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your knee.
Yeah. Yep.
that it's just not true. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's just not true. Even the this stuff that there's only male, female, it's like
it's not.
We're combinations.
Right.
Each and every person, we have male and female hormones within us. Every person. And even in terms of anatomy, it's not as simple and as clean cut as that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a wonderful thing on YouTube about this, about just how we are created and how complex that is. And it's not always an either or.
Yeah, that's
there's
an oversimplification.
There's a lot of and there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Our bloodlines. It's not this either or. That's why we can share blood and body parts.
Mm-hmm.
Because what accounts for race on a biological level is like less than 1,000th of a percent. They're doing heart transplants now with valves from pigs.
Yep.
Pigs valves, which just goes to, show this point that I'm making about it isn't this either or. We're all beautiful combinations of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all right. That's all right.
Yep.
And when we become okay with that, the healings will start to become. The healings will be there. It kind of reminds me of racial stuff and how we categorize race in the United States, where race is really a social construct. It's not a biological construct. And it puts these extremes where anything that white is one extreme, it's pure, black is on the other extreme. Once anything touches white, it stops being white. So white gets to be pure. Black touches it, it's black.
It's black.
Kamala Harris, her mama's Indian.
But she's black.
Obama's mama's white. He's black. Tiger Woods' mama, she's Thai, but he black. It's like once black is in there. So it's this thing,
Drop.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can look at me and tell, hey, she didn't come straight over here from Africa.
Drop or something mixed it.
Yeah, I'm like, I think technically speaking, by the DNA test, I'm like 2/3 and a third.
Okay.
Like 2/3 black and a third white. It doesn't surprise me, knowing my background and stuff. But I bring that up to say that we here as black folks know we're related Like we know, I know I'm related to these white people, but they get to believe they're not related to me. We've constructed a worldview which allows them to think that they're not connected to us. And it's this same kind of problem that we're having everywhere around the world.
Yeah.
Where, whether we are Americans, like we're not connected to any, like to anybody else in the rest of the world is like, but you're dominating and controlling and running everything and the weather and the economy and everything else. And what do you mean? It's just about you. It's like, what are you talking about? And I think part of that religious healing that we all have to do is to transcend whatever the struggle is that we're having about our own religious upbringing, about our own sacred text. There has to be part of us that's willing to locate ourselves in something that's larger than just my nation, my religion, my race.
And then the differences.
Yes, that there's something that's bigger than all of that.
That unifies us all.
Exactly. And until you connect to that, it's always going to be a struggle. Until you give yourself permission to be more than a description, more than an identity. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that's not the totality of who you are. It's gosh, I wish I was Audre Lorde. It was one of the early Black feminists. And I love the way she put that dichotomy. She says, if you want to be my friend, forget I'm Black. But never forget I'm Black.
That part, and I know exactly what she meant. Yeah.
Exactly. It's that and.
Yeah,
that life,
it's the and also.
Life is the and, it's not the or. Life doesn't deal in or. Life is always about the and. And anybody out there, if you want to heal, don't spend all your time worrying about like all the abuse or all of the ideology and all of the doctrine and the dogma and whatnot. Keep going up. If you've ever been in a plane that's in a storm and you just keep going up, you get to a point where you're actually above the clouds. And you see the sun didn't go anywhere.
Right.
It was just eclipsed by what was going on down below. And that's how we have to do with our lives. Keep going up, up, to get to that place where you can sense yourself as part of something bigger than all the rest of this. When you get that connection, then you can come on back down and deal with your stuff here. But you can't solve the problem with the same consciousness that created it.
You don't find the healing in the environment that causes pain.
You don't. Yeah. No, you have to give yourself permission. You have to give yourself permission to be you, to be real, to know, even in scripture when it says, be still and know that I am God. That word know is not cognitive awareness. It actually means sexual intercourse.
Say what now?
Yeah. He knew her in a biblical way. It means sexual intercourse. It's a relational know. And when you think about the sexual intercourse part, it's that you consummate, you become one. It's that kind of a know. where you integrate and you have this intimate relationship.
Yeah.
It says that's what we're called to do, to be still and know me. And even if you look at scripture, it says, be still and know that I am God.
Mm-hmm.
That word that will be in italic, which shows that it was like inserted to make it grammatically correct from an English standpoint. But it's really be still and know me.
And know I am the I am.
Yes, have a relationship with me. I get these downloads. I didn't believe in it. Growing up, I did not believe in any of that until it started happening to me. And it took so much to give myself permission, because particularly growing up in the Pentecostal church, to be lesbian and a woman, the Church of God in Christ that I grew up in, it don't even ordain women.
Yeah.
You can't,
church.
yeah, you cannot be a minister and a woman in that denomination.
Mm.
Come on now. Really?
So from birth, y'all are already told that you're less than.
Yeah. So, and I'm just saying, you can always tell where things are by where the status of women is, because so much of homophobia is really just misogyny. And if you don't let women be pastors, you certainly ain't gonna let nobody gay, be a pastor. So to give myself permission to say, I'm worthy enough to not but to start my own church and to let those letters go out and let them begin. Ayala Bonzant uses them all the time, all the time. In fact, she even took it to Oprah. I remember.
Explain the letters.
So these books that I have, The Sacred Yes and Your Deepest Intent, they are a collection of prophetic messages. Mm-hmm. The messages come to me in the form of a letter, punctuation and all. And what I typically do is record it and then transcribe it. So this series is a transcription of these messages, of these letters, where Spirit's in a dialogue and communing with us. That whole process, I didn't believe in at all. When I got my call to ministry, so how I got the call was this experience I had where, I don't know if I've ever shared this on camera before, where I was literally what they call slain in the spirit. I was at the New York Hilton for the youth convocation. I was 15 years old. It was in my senior year in high school. I graduated very early. And just in a lot of pain about being gay. There was an altar call where you go up for the prayer. And I don't know what happened, but a force hit me in my chest like this and up underneath my legs at the same time. So it was like, and I'm on the ground.
Yeah.
I am on the ground, and I don't know. To this day, I have no idea what I said because I was speaking in tongues. My mother did I have no idea what I said. I've spoken in tongues maybe 3 more times in my whole entire life. But I just knew. My next memory was being in the restaurant with my mom, who's witnessed the whole thing, and telling her I had a call to ministry. I just knew. I knew. But I couldn't preach that hell and brimstone. Mm-hmm. So I promised God I'd do something about it by the time I turned 40.
At 15, you made a promise to God about what you would do by the time you are 40. Wow.
And the day before I turned 40.
Oh, you wait every minute.
The day, I'm telling you, before I turned 30, I started the Vision Corps for my ministry.
Mm-hmm.
The day before. I was going to be finally graduating from ministerial school a few months later. I dropped out for like 10 years out of ministerial school, but that's how long I ran that course. And it was right at that time of that surrender.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I started hearing the letters. I was hearing it to somebody else for maybe 7 years, but I started hearing them for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And they're now, at least like over 100 or something are now published, and out there. But what it took to give myself permission, and to be honest with you, that's part of the reason why I went independent in the beginning, because I didn't know how this prophetic voice from my youth was going to gel with this more universal, like metaphysical approach.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like on the other end, and I felt I got to see this through.
Yeah.
And I can't have some restriction about who I am or am not supposed to be limit, because I had been asking my whole life, talk to me, God. If you think I'm this and that, what they're telling me, I got to hear it from you, because this isn't what I believe, and this isn't what you got to talk to me. So I mean, I really, really, really sought that connection, like in the heart of the heart of the heart. Do not pass me by. So for any of you listening, I don't care what reason anybody has for why you should be out of favor, don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Because God, the universe, the great, wants you just the way you are and waste nothing and will use everything about you, okay? I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
If you've been incarcerated, God will use that. You've been battered and abused, God will use that. You've been a drug addict, God will use that. Whatever it is, you've been a CEO of a Fortune 500, God will use that. Whatever. God's like a big compost pile where even the crap is fertilizer.
All the scraps.
Mm-hmm. Fertilizer for what's new.
We're not all supposed to have the same journey.
No.
We're not supposed to be these perfect visions of an angel. That's not our assignment here.
No, we're called to be faithful, not successful.
Oof, it just hit me.
Yeah, we're not called to be successful. You're called to be faithful.
Yeah.
You're called to remember, to keep showing up. And it is through the trials, it is through the tribulations, it's through all that you become convicted, calm with victory, with the victory. You got to go through something to have the deep conviction.
Mm-hmm.
Your test is your testimony. Your test is your testimony. I've done prison work for like 25 years, deep in the prison, male prisons actually. And I'm telling you, the closest I've seen to what I would call like really, really holy people have been lifers.
Mm.
In its own bizarre way, it's almost like a monastic life. When you take away the bling bling, and the money and the cars and the women and and the striving and the success, and there ain't nothing but you up in there in that cell. Just you. And you got to find a way to come up with meaning
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot in your life. In fact, I've got a TEDx talk that I invite people to look at it, TEDx Berkeley.
UC Berkeley, I saw that one.
Yeah, about forgiveness
Mm-hmm.
and how I learned forgiveness from the men inside. We got a spoken word thing on there at the end too, for my alter ego, Wilhelmina.
Wilhelmina.
Yeah, Wilhelmina.
We need to meet Wilhelmina.
Oh yeah, Wilhelmina.
Have you come back? Have you come back with Wilhelmina?
Yeah. So Wilhelmina's piece that I end on. It starts off. Wilhelmina got 3 questions. Why I got to forgive? Why I got to forgive? And why I got to forgive?
Why I got to forgive? I feel it, Wilhelmina.
Everybody.
Why me? Why I gotta do it?
Everybody feels Wilhelmina. Wilhelmina is like our emotional ventriloquist.
Right.
She just blurts out like.
Why I gotta be the one to heal? Why I gotta be the one to do it all?
She breaks it down.
Yeah. That's real.
It is.
I love that. I've never seen a life sentence be compared to a monastery before, but I could definitely see how that would make somebody closer to God. Because you only have time to be close with yourself.
Yeah. And the original 12 that we worked with and built our programs around, like they're all out, even though they were lifers. The government don't want to take care of you when you're old.
Yeah, it's true.
So most of them go in their 20s, like late teens or 20s. Very rarely do people go to prison at 50 or 60. They're in there.
Let's break that down. Let's break that one down.
Very rarely.
Yeah. In the 20s and 30s, they got energy to still do the work.
Yeah.
That needs to be done in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And as they start pushing 50, they're pushing 60, like suddenly, you're out. You're rehabilitated.
Wow.
We don't want to
you have to figure out life.
You got to figure it out, but we're not going to pay for your bills and your med and everything else. But I just say that to say that we're still friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have connections with a lot of these people that I had known, on the inside, and have watched them, whatever, get married, have families, get degrees, start businesses. And I'm just so grateful to have learned what I learned from them about forgiveness, about how anger and freedom cannot occupy the same space. Patience. The truth is everywhere. It is my point. That I've learned as much in prison as I ever had in any pew.
One more time for the people in the back, okay?
I've never said it like that before, but that is, I have learned more in prison than I have sitting in the pews about stuff that really matters. The stuff that really matters. From what I know of Jesus, that's the life that Jesus lived.
He was in the streets.
Yeah, he's in the streets.
He wasn't in a church.
No.
He was in the streets.
In the streets. Prostitutes and tax collectors and the heart, and said, hey, they understand it more than you.
Yeah.
The one he said had more faith than anybody was a pagan and the enemy. The Roman officer. We know that story of the Good Samaritan. But what we don't say is that the Samaritan was the enemy. You weren't even supposed to speak to the Samaritans. And yet they were the ones that showed the kindness and the mercy. And in his parable, he uses the Samaritan as the example of who is the neighbor that we are to love.
And this is why decolonization and deconditioning of our minds, of everything we've been taught, is so important for us to be able to connect to our neighbor. We've created these barriers of beliefs that make us different, and then we fixated on the differences and have just decided, no, I'm gonna be this person, this good person, while those people are over there being the bad people. I feel like that's a lot of unlearning that I had to do in the church.
Oh yeah.
Like from everything that had been instilled in me in the church. And I was raised Southern Baptist.
Mm-hmm.
There in South Carolina, like we was in the church 5-6 days a week. Moved up to Maryland, was in the church 5-6 days a week, working in the church on the usher board, working in the youth just working for the Lord.
Youth choir, vacation, Bible school, everything.
So everything that I knew, everyone that I knew, everything was connected to that belief, that indoctrination. And stepping outside of that is when I was exposed to every other color of the rainbow. Every other person and lifestyle and upbringing, and that is where I knew that my one lens was not it was not expansive enough. It was not loving enough. And I did this program in high school called Bobcat Town. Out of Arizona, there's these town systems, and the different high schools have their own towns, and ours is Bobcat Town because it was our mascot was a bobcat. And so we would go up to these camps in Prescott in the woods, and we would spend about a week there. This was like a field trip, and they would pull kids from all different areas of the school. So we were also the most international high school in the state of Arizona. So we had a bunch of international kids coming up there. We had kids from like the drama club, sports teams, just all over. A lot of whom I did not know. I didn't know any of these people. They put us up in the woods with these complete strangers for 7 days, and they have us do all these exercises, like these getting to know one another exercises, getting to know ourselves, breaking down and unpacking like the different barriers of beliefs, like the stereotypes, all of that. Gay, straight, everywhere on the spectrum, we were all together in one space and able to share what we have been conditioned to know about one another, and really allow people from those very specific areas to break down those beliefs systems for us in a safe space. That changed my entire life. And from then on, that was like sophomore year, I went as a delegate. Next year, I was a counselor. Next year, I was the president. Went to NAU, and we had College Town at NAU, Northern Arizona University. Went there as a counselor, went there as a president, and then went back as a staff member after I graduated, because that's how important the work was for me in understanding. But it wasn't until I was exposed to those different people, till I opened myself up and gave myself permission to learn more about these other people, that I was able to actually learn that everything that I desire in my life, all the relationships that I desire in my life, the love I desire in my life, has to be beyond just one box of belief and thinking. And I feel like it's put me in the position that I'm in today. And that's why it came so easy to me in the spiritual work that I do, to integrate in all the beliefs, like the different practices from the different belief systems into my own practice, because I recognize the healing work that's in Buddhism, the healing work that's in Hinduism, the healing work that's in Christianity. And I find that I can meld it all together to create this beautiful life full of these multicolored tapestries from all these different cultures and areas. And the only hurt I've ever felt through all of this was when I wouldn't allow myself to be accepting of all of that before I truly understood the importance of being accepting. And this helped everybody around me. It's like, now you can no longer say certain things around me, because I'm just not going to tolerate it. It doesn't work that you're not going to talk about my friends and my loved ones in a certain way, because that is the ideology that you believe. I'm no longer accepting of that language, of those feelings, and I don't really want you to tell them to me. And then I get to share why and help other folks expand their worldview. And so if you're listening right now or watching, and you feel like you're the only one in your life that has this desire to grow and expand, and you feel like they're not going to understand you, you feel like they're not safe spaces for you to be and have these conversations, be who you are and allow yourself to lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it starts with knowing yourself, because once you have a firm foundation of who you are, no amount of wind force can blow that over. You can't be knocked down. You're firmly planted. You're rooted in the ground. You are the strength of that tree that is rooted in the ground, because you know who you are.
Yes.
And that's really helped. That's how I got to this point, having this space here on this podcast, because this has been a major shift in my understanding as I had been growing up. And that's just like from high school. High school was only, 13 years ago for me. Mm-hmm. So the past 13 years, I've been on this journey of understanding what it looks like post-church indoctrination. Mm-hmm. And what it feels like to let go of those confines and find comfort in my community instead of comfort in what I've been taught.
Amen. True. I hope everybody listening is really hearing this. It is a permission structure. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's a permission structure, but it's an internal one.
Yes.
We're waiting for external validation, external permission. No, it's internal. Mm-hmm. And what you just described happened to you in your youth is the very reason why diversity, equity, inclusion is being banned. Yeah. Okay. This has been my life's work.
Who does it benefit?
Bingo.
Who does it benefit to ban DEI? Yeah. To ban experiences like the one that I had.
Exactly. Because when we get too evolved, we realize we've been fed a bill of goods. Mm. When we realize that we have all these things in common, I actually like you, I don't want to hurt you, we should all be here together, you start to feel justice and compassion, and equity, then the stuff breaks down. Mm-hmm. It breaks down. And see, part of the reason why this is so incredibly important is that a lot of this rhetoric we have about what's being taken away and what's being taken away. Your equality is yours. Nobody can give it to you. You show up equal. Mm. The laws don't make you equal. What we call the civil rights laws? They were based upon immutable spiritual principles of a pre-existing equality. And just demanding, all the civil laws do is codify a pre-existing. That's all that they do. Mm-hmm. They don't give you the right. They just remove the impediments from your being able to exercise your right. The Voting Rights Act didn't give you the right to vote. You had the right to vote. It just took away all the crap that was keeping you from exercising that right. Marriage equality, the same thing. They didn't suddenly give you the right to marry. They said, you already had it. It was just being kept away from you. Mm-hmm. Because of your gender, because you were the same sex. But the right, even a murder on death row has the right to marry. It can't be taken away from you. It's like one of these fundamental things. Mm-hmm. Which is why you got to know yourself. You got to show up to the party equal. Yep. You got to know you're equal. Okay. Slaves didn't get on the freedom train.
They did not.
Not a slave.
Not a slave.
The only ones that got on the freedom train were the people that already knew they were free. Mm. What's a free person like me doing up in here? I'm out. I'm not even looking for somebody to free me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go where they can see I'm free. But whether it's a woman's movement, anything, race, you got to show up. Show up.
With a knowing
of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Who you are. Because as long as you think they got it, you'll never have it.
That's the reclamation of your power.
If you're a battered woman and you're trying to get your power back from your batterer, lots of luck, baby.
Yeah, they're not going to give it to you. You got to take it.
Something you got to rise up one day. So I ain't your doormat.
Yeah.
I'm more than this. I'm more than this. We have it within us. But you have to give yourself permission. Think about it when you're raising a child. Isn't this the stuff we tell our kids all the time?
Yep. Give yourself permission. I always say I ask for forgiveness.
You can't worry about what everybody else doing. You know, who you gonna be?
I always say I ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And that's because I've already given myself permission. I needed forgiveness if I broke a rule or something. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do what is best for me. And if that looks like giving myself permission to incorporate Bible verses at my ancestor altar, who gonna stop me, boo? Forgive me if it hurt your feelings, but I didn't need your permission.
Exactly.
And a lot of folks, I just really do hope they take away that you don't need permission from anyone else. You have to give yourself the permission.
You have to.
Yeah.
Your life is worth it.
We're giving you permission right now.
Yes.
To take control back of your own life.
Your life is worth it.
Yeah.
That everything about you that you think is quirky or different or unusual, whatever, it's part of your beauty.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
And God uses all of it. You know, even with my church, we bought our own facility when we were just 7 years old. We bought 3.5 acres, 15,000 square feet with no money. Yes.
How do y'all do that?
And the owners lent us $430,000.
What?
As a down payment so we could do the financing.
I believe in that.
And because we didn't pay for people put roofs on, I mean, everything just came from the community, a non-membership community.
Mm-hmm. Not the tithes and offerings.
Yeah. I didn't even know the people. Like the people that gave us the HVAC and the new roof on the sanctuary, it was like $2 billion. I didn't even know. I didn't know the lesbian couple that put the gravel down there, you know, and paid an acre and a half to give us a parking lot. I didn't know the people that did it. I didn't even know the people.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know the people that sold it to us. It's like, I didn't even know, but I know God.
Yeah.
I know God. And because I had a strong real estate background, I created these multi-lender loans where community members could come in and invest. And I taught them social responsibility lending. Where
like susu.
Yeah, where we didn't have to go to banks.
Yeah.
We did it all ourselves.
The power is with the people.
The power is with the people.
Mm-hmm.
The power is with the people. And people had a chance. You could come in as low as $10,000. What can you buy real estate with $10,000?
That's not a thing.
You know?
A parking space.
You know, and I'm not saying it's like just a teeny little bit of money, but in terms of them having that experience to be able to be in on it. I mean, it was a lot of work because I had scores of these investors over like a 20-something, year period. But it's just another example of how God wastes nothing because I have that real estate background. I knew how to do it. I mean, I personally did all that paperwork. Each one of them had to be treated like they were their own. I had a lot of work, like, through the years. But I don't care what it is. Like, did I want to keep a real estate investment career? Like, no. But whatever that is that you have, like, you may say, well, I don't want to be a teacher anymore. I don't want to be, okay, fine. But there's something about that God's going to use. Don't try to get away so much. Like even me.
That's affirming right there.
Even me. From the day I graduated from ministerial school in 96, I've been a Bible instructor. I'm a Bible instructor in like 3 different seminaries. Because I healed. I had to heal. This irony that the same book that people were beating me up with, because I kept digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And my next workshop is just in a couple of weeks.
Tell us about it.
In Oakland.
Oh, in Oakland.
Yeah, it's in Oakland at the East Bay Church of Religious Science. I'm going to be doing a metaphysical Bible interpretation on the feeding of the 5,000.
When is that?
It's May 31st from 1:30 to 5, 2025.
Okay.
Yep, Reverend Derica Blackman, one of my former ministerial students,
That's an amazing conversation.
Is the senior minister there. But if I had turned my back, I'd have never started to hear those messages. If I turned my back, I wouldn't be a Bible instructor. It's the and. It's the and. Now I know a lot of people, I'm just too much and.
You got too many intersections happening right now.
I'm too much and.
Yeah.
For most people. But that ain't my problem.
You took the power away from what was used to hurt you. And you turned it into your own.
It's like a spiritual Aikido.
Yep.
That force that's trying to like come up against you.
Yeah.
It's like you move with it. You move with it. Like you roll with it. You take the Velcro off. So there ain't no sticky stuff. For the stuff just to stick to you. The phrase that I would like to share with people that really keeps me sane. People's comments about me say more about their consciousness than my character. The stuff they say about me ain't about me. It's about them. It's not what they call you, it's what you answer to.
Okay.
So I don't answer to that stuff. There is not enough homophobia in the world to keep me up at night anymore.
And there shouldn't be.
No. I'm over it.
Yeah.
Because it's not saying anything about me.
You are not a projection of their perception.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with
It's
you.
got nothing to do with me.
Yep.
And it's that place that all of us have to get to where we stop internalizing other people's hatred, their ignorance, that's them. That's them. You get yourself free. So you can get on with what God got for you. Because this is a beautiful world. And we need everybody.
We do.
To shine like the diamonds that they are.
All the scraps.
Everybody
in the compost bin.
Everybody.
We all have a part to play in this.
We all have a part to play. I know we got to end, but I just wish to share this one story with you. I'm getting a flash. This was years ago, and I was coming out of church with Reverend Michael Beckwith, the founder. We one of the founders of the church. So we come out, and there's this dude. Looks like he's homeless. Looks like he's probably drunk, and he's leaning up against the car. And he kind of leans over. And he's got this raspy voice. He said, Reverend Michael, come over here. I've got the secret of life. So we looked at each other and said, okay, all right. So he looks at us and he says, the problem is, ain't no problem. That's the problem. That's just too deep for most people. They can't figure out. Ain't no problem.
That is deep.
And we looked at each other and said, maybe he does have this. Like maybe he does have a secret of life. Okay.
No, for real, that's freedom.
But that's it. It's everywhere. There's no monopoly. You don't have to go a certain place. You don't have to speak a certain way. You don't have to pray a certain way. It's beyond all that.
Yeah. Don't
put yourself in box. It's okay to be a comfortable expression of yourself. Mm-hmm. But I guarantee you now, whoever's listening, when you think about the people that you really like and admire in this world, they're not in boxes.
That's true.
They don't do just one thing.
Yeah.
They do a lot of things. Mm-hmm. They're not just in one genre.
They're giving themselves permission.
Or just one sport, or just one aspect of the industry. You know, they produce and they direct, and they, you know. It's like they keep expanding and they keep filling up the space. They don't just play like one genre necessarily all the time. You know, even if they're experts like in that, because life's not putting you in the box. You can specialize in something, but that's your choice to specialize in. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. All I'm saying is that you don't have to live within the constrictions of predefined, this is what you have to be.
Right.
Because nothing is doing that to you in the universe.
Yeah, it's us.
So go on out there and be free.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Rev D. Thank you for this conversation, the wisdom, the insights, the wealth of knowledge that you bring to any space. The world benefits because there are people like you in it.
Well, likewise, my sister.
Thank you.
You know, I'm here to help. I'm here to support. Doesn't matter our age. We in this thing together.
We are. How can the people find you?
I just want to say to everybody, first off, thank you. Like, just thank you for listening. Like, I really, really, really appreciate it. You know, you can find me on social media. You can find me, you know, on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And hey, if you really want to just reach me directly, I'm going way on a limb here and trusting Rev Deborah Johnson at Gmail.
All right. You put the Gmail out there. Use that right, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. Use it right. And I'm just trusting that whomever uses that needs the connection.
I appreciate you for being so open and sharing that.
Mm-hmm. Somebody might need it because I've never done that before. So I'm just trusting Spirit.
Spirit said do it.
Spirit said do it.
Being obedient. Mm-hmm. That's how I felt when Spirit said invite you on the podcast.
All right.
And I said we have to make this happen.
Made it happen.
And I'm glad we did. We'll have to have you back too because there's so much more that I feel like I want to unpack with you.
Hey, likewise. I want to hear you too.
Yeah.
And get you on my stuff.
Yeah, I love that. So as you all know, I always say healing starts when you stop pretending that you don't need it. Thank you for listening. This is Healing in Podcast. Healing in Progress. Woo!